Welcome back to my next video. We're going to continue our series on unconventional heat sources in your vehicle. A lot of you are in cars and SUVs or even in vans, minivans, and you don't want propane. And so many reasons you don't want propane. You just don't want propane. You don't want a diesel heater. You don't want any uh, fossil fuel heat going on in your rig at all. That's fine. So we're looking for alternatives. If you're not going to do any additional heat, you want to just try blankets and hot water bottles. And so I think that is a possibility of a way, a little higher quality a blanket. Now, you should already have your own bedding. When you left home, you should have just taken all your bedding with you and whatever was keeping you warm at home. It probably wasn't the highest quality bedding, but you could just add layers and keep adding on enough until eventually you could stay warm at night. Or maybe you went out and bought a really high quality sleeping bag, a -20 sleeping bag that'll keep you warm through any kind of thing at all. That's fine. Whatever works for you. That's sleeping. We're talking about the evening hours. The sun goes down in the winter in most of America at 4:30 or 5:30 or even earlier. And you're in your rig till bedtime, 10:30, 10, 10:30, 11, maybe later, 11:30, 12. Um, and so you've got all this gap of time where you're awake, you're active, you don't want to get in your sleeping bag and go to sleep. You just want to be warm and not miserable. So we're going to include the idea here of these blankets. Now, I think a combination of all of them, a good blanket, the electric 12-volt electric blanket on either one of these on top of it, and hot water heater bottles and a candle going, I think that's really going to be the ticket to make this work, especially in the larger the vehicle. In a car, I think any combination of these will probably make you pretty darn comfortable. But once you're up into the van size, full-size van, it might take all of them. So you're using a 12-volt heated blanket. You wrap either one of these blankets on top of it because they're exceptionally warm. And then you have a hot water heater that you put underneath it by your feet, by your chest, wherever maybe your legs get cold. Maybe you have two or three of these. These are so cheap. You can just buy two or three of these, warm up enough water, and then you're providing, that's a source. That hot water becomes the source of the heat. But it's a combination. And then on top of all that, you've got an emergency candle going. And that's providing some heat into the total rig. The first thing I want to look at is wool, a wool blanket. This is by a company named Arcturus. It's called the Rainier for Cedars. This is, this costs $48. It's a wool blanket. It's not merino wool, which merino wool might have been a little better. It does have a little bit of an odor. It's been in the bag. I just pulled it out. But I think it's not enough odor that I think it would be a problem. Then you're going to have to air it out. Almost everything you buy nowadays, you have to air it out. When I was a boy, I grew up with wool blankets. I grew up in Alaska. Yeah, we moved to Alaska in 1961. And we grew up with surplus Army, Navy, particularly. The Navy were the best. Wool blankets. And this reminds me so much of a surplus Army blanket, wool blanket. And I loved them. They were very warm, and I loved the weight, the feel of the weight. This is 4 pounds. This is a very heavy blanket. Don't have it with me. And wool keeps you warm even when it's damp. So your body puts out moisture all night, and if you have say you're wearing a down, which a lot of you are going to want to try and use because down is the ultimate source of warmth, and when it gets damp, boy, you're hurting. If it never warms up enough to get the dampness out of the down blanket, you're never going to get it dry, and it's going to get progressively damper and damper and damper and damper. And so if your van never warms up the next day, then it never gets dried out completely. The next night you go to bed, your body is putting out moisture. Your body is putting out at least a quart of moisture every night. You're dead sleep. You're asleep. You're not doing any activity. You're not sweating. Well, you might be sweating. So if we keep warm enough, you'll be sweating. But just your body moisture is about a quart a night, and that's going through your down blanket. And so that's one of the reasons, while down's the warmest, it's not here. We don't have a down blanket here. We have a down alternative here. But this gets a little damp, you'll still be warm. And that's why everyone loves wool. That's why the Army handed out wool blankets. That's why the Navy in particular handed out wool coats, wool blankets. Everything was wool because it kept you warm even when it was wet. So the blanket is $48 and it's 88 by 64. That is a very, very large. It's a twin, but man, that is a very large twin. This is going to be really, really big. 64. My bed is 38 inches wide, so that means it'll hang over each side by about a foot, and that's really good. Now, what I like to do when I sleep is I don't sleep with a sleeping bag. I find them uncomfortable. I just kind of roll over. I get them my blankets spread evenly about me. I roll over so the blanket falls on. A heavier blanket will fall in under better, and I'd put this one on top, and so that it pushed all my blankets in underneath me. Then I roll over to the other side, and the blanket falls down in that hole, that crack where I've risen up, and then I lay back down, and I've created a mummy blanket just with that simple motion. And so I just find sleeping bags too uncomfortable. But that works really well, and I think this on top is going to add a lot of heat. The weight is going to be, I think, really enjoyable. It's big. I can do that really well. It's big enough. We'll see. I think a wool blanket is something you should consider. Next is down alternative. Again, like I've said, because down gets wet, it loses all of its value, and that's been. And I have spent a ton of nights. I've lived in Alaska all my life. I've camped. I've backpacked. I've spent a ton of nights at well below zero. I have spent probably 50, 100 nights in Alaska at 30 below and lower. I know a little bit about sleeping in the cold and staying warm, and I'm just going to tell you, nothing will keep you as warm as down, but once you get it wet and you can't dry it out the next day, your goose is cooked, my friends. That down's gonna come back and bite you in the butt because wet down is of no value. So I personally prefer down alternatives. They're not as warm. They don't compact as small. Let me tell you about this before I pull it out, huh? This is made by Get Out Gear. It's a puffy. They call it a double puffy. It's 77 by 50. That's a good size. Again, my bed is 38 inches wide, so that's going to give me about 8 or 10 inches on each side. That's good. It's 58.75. They say it puffs up really nice and full. I'm a big fan of a quality down alternative. The fabric on this is tougher than most. It has fabric that is water repellent. It's not waterproof. You don't want it waterproof because it won't let air out to escape. But it's very water resistant. But I like this a lot. I love these down alternatives, and it has a snap. I'll try to get a close up of that and show you. It has snaps on it so that you can wear it as a poncho. And then in the evening, I would wear this around me. And again, I think this would go really well over one of the electric blankets. So you lay out your electric blanket on top of you, immediately on top of you. Then you put this on top of it. It weighs nothing. It's not going to weigh down on the electric blanket, but it's going to really retain a lot of heat. That's one of the first things I'll try, is this on top of an electric blanket, and I think that'll work really well. And then the fact that you can use the snaps and turn it into a poncho. I love down alternative, wool and down alternative. Go back to the old ways, the old primitive ways, and down the new, best of the new. And I think this is a fantastic combination. Put this on you and then put this over that, and I think it can't be underneath that because it'll compress the down. You mustn't compress the down alternative, or it will lose its ability to stay warm. Going along with that, and the final, what I think is the final piece of this puzzle of staying warm without propane, without fossil fuels, is a hot water bottle. I think a hot water bottle is, again, an old-fashioned. They've been using hot water bottles forever, and they work. This is made by Sampley. It's $11.99. It's $12. It holds 2 quarts, 67 ounces, and it's $12. And it got really great reviews on Amazon. I guess they hold up. And you're going to want one of these to come with a cover on the outside because you want the water to be really hot. You don't want it to boil. You don't want to put boiling water in here. You want it to be about 180 degrees, shy of boiling. And so you're going to want this blanket, this cover, to cover it. And these come in a million different colors, so you can get any color you want. And they say this is a wide mouth, but this is not a wide mouth. This is a teeny tiny mouth as far as I'm concerned. You'd have to have a funnel to pour hot water in there without burning yourself. So I would want one by my feet, one maybe on under my legs, one on my chest. Warming up the water puts in a lot of heat into the rig right then, and then you put the heat into this and you store it and use it overnight. All the reviews said it would be warm by morning. It would no longer be hot. 2, 3, 4 hours and the heat is gone, but it's warm. And even by morning, you're still warm and you're glad you have this on it. So you've double warmed. You've run the stove to warm up the water, and then you put it in here and stored that heat overnight right next to your body. That's close-up heating. That's what this is all about. You're not heating the whole van, the whole warehouse. You're heating your body. And then the blanket will go on there. And so when it's hot, initially it's hot, it won't burn you. Now this would also be a medicine thing. If you're older, you have body aches, and if you don't, good luck. Man, I'm so glad for you. I got plenty of body aches. You can put ice in it and you can put heat in it, and you can go back and forth. I bought 3, so I might put heat in one and ice in the other, or cold water in the other, right out of my fridge, and I could go back and forth between hot and cold, and that's something that's very good for you, I think. Okay, and then finally there's one more bag. I bought this because of the quality, the size and the quality. What can I tell you about this one? This is made by a company named Peter Pan. Uh, Everything about it reeks of quality, and so it's expensive. It's $32. So this one was 12, but it holds half as much, and this one's 32, and everything about it is really high quality. Oh man, that's a quality zipper. No fighting to get any. Oh man, it zips up the whole way down. Look at that. See, that's well thought out. Uh, that's well thought out. That opened up really nicely. It's just fake fur. It's not real fur. Not for $32. And it's big. It holds 3 liters. It holds a third more. The big thing, and they make a really big thing out of this, is that it's actually rubber. Rubber is expensive, and that's why there's no rubber in this thing. This is all oil. This is oil made into some kind of plastic, a lot of PVC. This is 56% rubber. Boy, they say that over and over again. Right out of a rubber tree. So right off the bat, this is somewhat sustainable because they tap rubber trees and they get more rubber out of them. The quality and the feel of it is enormously different. This feels like rubber. It's not all rubber, but it's a lot rubber, 56%. And I think that's a good deal. I mean, there's a reason why your tires are rubber, because it's good stuff. And then it's not a big lid. I was hoping to have a big mouth, but it doesn't. It's a small mouth. So there you go. That's an idea. This is the idea here. And I see it as a part of a total system of keeping you warm. So the 12-volt blankets, the candles, the chafing fuel, wool blankets, high-tech down alternative blankets, and good old-fashioned warm water next to your skin. I'm hoping this is a way for you to keep warm in your rig. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later.